Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live stream today. Really glad you could join us. And I hope everyone's well out there. So while we're waiting for people to join, just want to say maybe we can do a little bit of housekeeping. So today we're going to be talking about is what I think is a really practical implementation of large language models. And that's enterprise search and retrieval. And I'm going to be talking about how we've been working on something internally for the last few months. And we're about to release it as an external research tool for our clients next year. So just so everyone knows, this is going to be an interactive session today. I'm going to present some slides, show you about some things we've learned over the last few months. And I'd be really happy to take questions. So best thing to do is to put them in the comments section on your interface there. You should be able to see it, I think, on the below or on the right-hand side of your screen. And I'll be able to take those after I've done my presentation. And also, we are recording this. I'm going to put it up on our YouTube channel after we finish today, so you'll be able to find it there. And of course, it will also be in your LinkedIn feed as well. So, you can come back to our page and find it anytime. Good. Well, I hope a few more people have joined us. And let's get going with some of the contents. As I mentioned, what I wanted to talk to guys today was about large language models. And of course, it's something we've all become used to this year. And what I think is a practical implementation right now, and that's search and retrieval of information. So, I think this is potentially a step change in the way that we can search for information. Let's think back, right? 20 years. We've all got used to using search engines such as Google. We've all used to Googling information and basically keyword searching an index and getting back some results which we can scroll through and then decide which one is most relevant to us. And in many respects, this kind of period in time reminds me of, what we witnessed back in 1998, 97, when Google was really starting to gain traction. Before that, and a lot of people won't remember this, but, search was almost in many cases just a list of URLs on a page. That's how Yahoo started out. And Google came along and, with their back rub algorithm and changed things. They were able to provide much more relevant search results and, displayed them in a way that really made it a real game changer for search on the internet. Now, today I'm talking specifically about enterprise search, not web search. And that's because, a lot of these models, these large language models we're going to be talking about are already trained on, information from the web. But what they're not trained on is, the information that's not on the web, enterprise documents and files that people have. And in our case, at least, our research articles and our reports, which are either sort of behind the paywall on our website or, in PDF documents and so forth. So, we started thinking about this this year. And, we really wanted to see how we could improve the search and retrieval of our own information using these new tools, these new artificial intelligence large language models. I think quickly we realized that, that we can take our data set and, actually let people query it in a different way using natural language. I mean, that's what we're most used to. I think over the last 20 years, we got used to doing, keyword searches, but ultimately we like to express ourselves in natural language. And, why is that an improvement? Well, I think that, LLMs can provide a lot of more coherent answers, right? So they're very good at taking large amounts of text and information and creating, some relevance and coherence around it. And I think then expressing that as an answer to a prompt or a question can be quite insightful, and a more intuitive way to interact with information than just like a list of search results. Also, quicker, and I don't mean quicker in the sense that it's going to bring back information faster than Google. But what I mean is, rather than sort of some of these manual processes of research that we've become used to, perhaps going through a PDF document, reading it, trying to find, some text within it, a paragraph that's specific to that question that you want answered, rather than having to do that, which is a time-consuming manual process, be able to type that question in and get an answer to it pretty quickly. So how have we done this? How have we gone about it? So what you're seeing here is an image of basically, a wireframe of how we managed to implement this. And this isn't, this is actually quite a popular use case now within this sort of developer community. They're calling it RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation. Essentially, we're giving a large language model, could be any large language model, access to our information at a specific time to answer a specific question. And I'll walk you through like how that's done. So if you look on the left, what we've done is we've taken all of our information, all of those reports, all of those articles, and we've created a text index. And then what we've done is split those bits of text up into different chunks. Those chunks are then embedded into a vector database, or at least the vectors associated with those chunks are put into a vector database. What is a vector? It's essentially, and I'm not an expert on this, but it's basically a number, a numerical representation of that bit of text. And then once it's in that database, you're able to infer how close one bit of text is to another, in the sense of how relevant one bit of text is to another. And it's not just counting, keywords, for example. It's actually able to kind of, understand semantically, what relationships there are between that text. So we have this vector database, which is a representation of all of our information. Then what happens on the user interface side is that someone asks a question. We then also take that question and we make a vector of that as well. We're then able to compare that vector against the vectors in our database, and based on that number, how close the number for that question is compared to the numbers, those vectors in our database, we're able to bring back the text chunks that we think are most relevant to that question. Then what we do is we package up that information and send it to a large language model. So we package up the question, the text chunks that we've taken from our own database, and then also some pre-prompt information. And I think anyone who's used to be using something like ChatGPT will understand that you can give it some context. So in our sense, we're just about smart building information and prop tech data and information. So we tell the LLM that's our subject, and then we also can give it other parameters as well around sort of how we want it to answer the question. We then send that package to the LLM, and it returns an answer, and that's what's then displayed on the screen. So we've done this via an API in our own, it's our own API, but also we have created a user interface for it as well, and you can see that on the screen now. Very, very simple. It just gives you the ability to put your question in and get the response. You can also, if you want to, you can save those questions as well, or you delete them. Once they're deleted from our system, they're not kept. And in this example, we've just asked it a question about one of our recent reports on access control, and it's brought back a long summary of that information. So in terms of use cases, what have we found so far? For sure, I think one of the most interesting applications of it is summarizing our information. And I mentioned earlier about how thumbing through reports is sort of time-consuming manual process. Well, using AIM, that's the name of our chatbot, you can create very good coherent summaries of information from our reports really quickly. For example, you can also make that information make those summaries in different formats. You can ask it to produce a slide deck of information on something from our report, and it will do that, and it will produce not just number the slides for you, but create the bullet points to go in those slides. And also, it would even write a script for you if you wanted to. It didn't write the script for me today, but maybe it could have. Also, something really interesting that I hadn't anticipated was about business scenario analysis. So you can actually apply some of these kind of decision-making frameworks to different information. In this example, I've said apply second-order thinking to assess a potential decision. Might not be your decision, could be something that's happened. So you could ask it to analyze some other decision a company has made, or that someone is thinking about making. And then finally as well, competitive analysis. As I mentioned, it's good about writing summaries of markets. It's also good about writing summaries of companies. So you can ask it to do things like write a SWOT analysis, or even just, if it's a company you've not come across before, or a new startup, within the smart building space, you can ask it to write a summary or a report on that company, and it will do that in a pretty coherent way. More learning. So this is sort of more general stuff that we've found. For one, prompting. Okay, and I think again, anyone who's been using large language models this year extensively will understand this, right? The answers you get are only going to be as good as the questions you ask, and that's what we mean by prompting. And prompt engineering, as they're terming it, has become something which actually is becoming quite important. And that's like how you put together a coherent question, a coherent prompt to ask the LLM. So you could see in the previous example, I said something like, write a comprehensive summary, produce a detailed report, right? Those are the kind of instructions that you can give an LLM to bring back the kind of thing that you want, right? And of course, you remember it's a conversation as well. That's something we've got to get used to. And we become used to Googling, which is much more about short search terms to bring back a certain number of results. Here, what we're talking about, is structuring more of a coherent prompt, but then also remembering that it's a conversation. So then you can ask it follow-up questions, and also maybe correct it if it's not included some information you think it should. Next bit here, basically you can get quite far now with retrieval augmented generation. There are, and even within ChatGPT itself, you can create these things called GPTs, which you give it information to, but obviously it's exposed to being able to then be trained on by ChatGPT, but you can do it. But I think the sort of the harder tasks are actually choosing the right large language model for the specific task. We also use the large language model to embed those text chunks within our vector database. That in itself is a specific task. But also data preparation. We spent a lot of time and effort in understanding how we should prepare our data to make and how we should expose it to the large language model. And then finally, again, something I think a lot of people who follow this space will will realize, is that the pace of AI development is really fast. And for example, Google just released an interesting new product they're calling Gemini yesterday, although it won't be released till next year. And even this year, we've seen it quickly move from beyond text to different modalities like video and images, etc. So 2024 is going to be really interesting to watch what happens in this space. So I think my final big learning about this goes back to my earlier point about enterprise search. What we're doing here is effectively providing a different way for our clients to access our information. We're allowing it to become machine readable so we can leverage the power of artificial intelligence on it. And I think, it's quite true. Every company now is really a software company. It applies to us as much as it does to anyone else. But ultimately what that means is it comes back to our information. We are not a, AI software company in that sense. We're still an information company. And this kind of approach will only be as good as the information that we give it. So, we have to maintain our ability and our USP in providing good smart building market analysis, essentially. Therefore, what we want to do is to give AIM, our chatbot, to and make it available to our premium subscribers next year. And that's our plan. So that's kind of it from me. Would be interesting, of course, to hear your questions, and we'll come on to that now. But, if you do have more information, if you do want more information, then, you can email us at support@memoori.com or go to our website and you'll find some more details there. Happy to engage with anyone. So let's see if there's any questions come up. 1 second. Let me just refresh this. Yeah, so if you put the questions in the comments section, we can get to them now. I can't see any at the moment. I mean, I genuinely think this is going to be interesting, not just for our company, but I think this kind of approach to retrieval augmented generation is going to be useful for any company who's interested in sharing knowledge internally. I spoke to someone the other day who's using this kind of approach for working on projects. So actually, they were, using a tool to record all the meetings they did with a specific client, and then creating a repository for that particular project. So they had all the information they need, all about what that client said at what time, and that's all then searchable. So there's some really interesting specific use cases. Question here, are other market analyst firms where you are in terms of the use of LLM? I don't know, to be honest. I haven't seen others use this yet. I'm sure that they will be. And, I'm sure some of the big, financial analyst companies will be sort of testing these tools out internally. Because I think it's, at least, as I said, internally, it's very, very useful for them. Externally, not so sure whether they'll go down that route, but of course, I think their clients would find it useful as well. Is there anything else? Let's have a look. If you have general questions as well, happy to take them. Just some comments here. Interested to see AIM in action. Yeah, again, if you are interested in doing that, then please contact us, and we can set up some kind of demonstration for people as well. It'd be interesting, actually, from my perspective, to see how people use it. I have like my understanding of how I think it's going to be used. But of course, I think people will have, have different experiences with it and will want to use it in different ways. But I definitely think, part of this experience is going to be making sure that we can help train people on prompting, on doing that prompt engineering, because I think that's going to be, for any kind of large language model tool that people are using, it's really important that you understand how to get the most out of them. Let's see if there's anything else here. As I said, any other questions, I'm happy to take them. Yeah, I mean, in terms of our plan for next year, we'll be releasing our report schedule, our research schedule for next year. And as a premium subscriber, you'll get access to all of the reports that we publish next year, as well as logins for the website, where you'll see all of the research notes about companies and different other subjects that we cover on the website as well. And as I said, we'll be giving access to for premium subscribers next year to AIM as well. Another question here. Given your initial experience, how do you stress test the LLM? Any particular prompting? Stress testing. I mean, I don't know if I can say that obviously we've done a fair amount of testing. And if you're talking stress testing about like how much use we're expecting, we've done some testing in that area. I mean, if you're testing about like whether you're able to kind of break it in some way, I mean, it's based on, obviously as I said, we don't have our own foundational model, right? We've not created our own LLM, right? We're using other third-party LLMs. So in that respect, they're the ones also that will have make sure that the answers that are coming back are not wrong. There are still issues, of course. We know that LLMs like ChatGPT can hallucinate, but it's not. I think given their recent update, it's becoming more obvious that they are doing a lot of work there. So I think over time we'll see, for sure, we're going to see these tools improve, and we're going to see that happening less and less. And we'll be the beneficiary of that as well, because we'll see the benefit of that. But in terms of then, obviously you have to remember the tool that we've developed is specifically for smart building research, and it's not. That's the purpose of it. It's not for asking questions about other general knowledge or other kind of things like that. I think over time, whilst we're not going to go and develop our own large language model, I think what I would like to do was take an open source model and fine tune it, which is quite possible. It's quite possible to do that now, and I think that could be something that could be really interesting to see if we can develop our own fine tune model specifically for this use case, smart buildings. Right. I don't know if there's anything else anyone wanted to ask. Okay, yeah, in stress testing in terms of relevance of answers. Yeah, so we have definitely looked at that. What we're going to have to do going forward, I think, is to create a feedback loop. We're very clear on that we want to maintain data privacy. That's a massive thing for us. But what we should be able to do is let people identify when it does bring back something that's not relevant. And then we'll be able to identify that and make sure that we can update perhaps gaps in knowledge. Of course, our database there are going to be gaps in knowledge within smart building prop tech. It doesn't know everything about that. It's as good as our information. So we cover particular technologies. That's where it will be strongest. So I think the easiest way, of course, to improve relevance is to make sure that there is that relevant information within the database. And, we should be able to do that. Cool. Where are the LLMs strongest and weakest? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I give you some examples there about summarizing information. I think it's strong about that. I think it's less good at, for example, what I would call kind of like comparisons. So you say like take one piece of information and another piece of information that isn't super relevant or is not obviously similar, and ask them to do some kind of comparison. I don't know, maybe saying, compare growth rates of market X against market Z. It can do that, but you need, often you may need to make sure that your prompt is specific enough for it to understand. So it might not answer it the first time, but maybe you have to then, in that conversation, update and update your question and then give it follow-on examples for to make sure that it works. Let's see if there is anything else. Okay, well, thanks for those questions. It was really interesting. While I finish off here, if there's anyone who has something final that they want to ask, then please do. But of course, you don't have to put it in the chat. If you want to just contact us, you can email us, support@memoori.com, and we're happy to answer your questions. So yeah, I think, if there's nothing else, then we can end the stream. And, I think just wish everybody a, Happy New Year. Like this is going to be our last stream of the year. Wish obviously everyone a happy holiday season as well. And really looking forward to next year. Really looking forward to launching this service and, getting feedback from real customers and, improving it as we go along through the year. So, yeah, I think that's it from me for now. Thanks very much.